President Trump has issued a new sweeping tariff threat that could impact countries and economies across the globe. He's warned of an extra 10% tariff on any nation that aligns with what he calls the anti-American policies of the BRICS nations. What does this mean for global trade? How are different countries reacting? And most importantly, what could this mean for you? We'll break it all down. So what exactly happened? On Monday, in a post on Truth Social, Donald Trump announced that any country embracing the policies of the BRICS bloc will face an additional 10% tariff on their exports to the United States. For those who might not know, BRICS is a group of major emerging economies that includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. This threat came after the BRICS nations met over the weekend and issued a joint statement. In that statement, they condemned US tariffs, calling them inconsistent with WTO rules, and also spoke out against US military actions in Iran. Trump's response was direct and unambiguous. He posted, "Any country aligning themselves with the anti-American policies of BRICS will be charged an additional 10% tariff. There will be no exceptions to this policy." This is a significant escalation in trade rhetoric, tying economic penalties directly to foreign policy alignments. This new threat adds another layer of complexity to an already tense global trade environment. The Trump team has been in a flurry of negotiations to try and seal trade deals before a looming deadline. Let's look at where things stand with some of the key US trading partners. First up, China. Interestingly, there are signs of a slight thaw in tensions here. The US has actually eased some export restrictions on chip design software and ethane. This move is seen as a positive step after both countries agreed to a framework for a larger trade deal. Next, Vietnam. A deal has been reached here. Vietnam's imports will face a 20% tariff. This is lower than the 46% Trump had previously threatened. However, there's a crucial detail. A much higher 40% tariff will be applied to any goods that are transshipped, meaning goods that originate from another country, like China, and are routed through Vietnam to avoid other tariffs. Now, let's talk about Japan. According to Trump, negotiations have soured. He called Japan spoiled and has threatened to impose tariffs of 30%, 35%, or whatever the number is that we determine. This is a notable increase from a 24% level mentioned back in April. The European Union has indicated it might be willing to accept a universal 10% tariff on many of its exports, but is pushing for exemptions for certain sectors. Meanwhile, our northern neighbor, Canada, has resumed trade talks with the White House after scrapping its digital services tax that would have affected major US tech companies. They are aiming for a deal by mid-July. And South Korea is in a race against time, seeking an extension to the July 9 deadline after their trade minister held talks with the US trade representative. These tariffs and the uncertainty surrounding them are not just abstract political moves, they have real-world consequences. Yes, we're already seeing the impact on major companies. German carmaker Mercedes-Benz reported on Monday that its second quarter sales of cars and vans fell by 9%, citing the impact of the tariffs. It's also hitting agricultural sectors. For example, the thriving citrus industry in South Africa, which exports a significant amount of its oranges, lemons, and grapefruits to the US, is now facing uncertainty. Walk down the aisle of a Whole Foods or Trader Joe's and you'll often see produce from South Africa. That supply chain is now under pressure. This isn't just affecting other countries. A recent Yahoo Finance/Maris poll shows that US consumers are growing concern. The majority of Americans are worried about their personal finances due to the tariff uncertainty, with many planning to cut back on spending for things like travel and dining out this summer. So what happens now? There's a lot of focus on the dates. President Trump had set a self-imposed deadline of July 9th to raise what he calls reciprocal tariffs. He stated last week that his administration would start sending out letters to countries to notify them of the new tariff rates they will face. However, the implementation date for these duties appears to be August 1st. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has indicated that around 100 trading partners could see a minimum reciprocal rate of 10% come into effect. He also expects a flurry of deals to be made before this deadline kicks in. This creates a high-stakes environment where countries are scrambling to either finalize deals or lobby for more time. In conclusion, we are witnessing a dramatic and fast-moving shift in global trade policy. The new threat of a 10% tariff linked to BRICS alignment introduces a new geopolitical dimension to economic negotiations. While some deals are being struck, like the one with Vietnam, major partners like Japan and the EU are still in a precarious position. The effects are already being felt, from German car makers to South African farmers, and even down to consumer confidence in the United States. The coming weeks, leading up to the August 1st effective date, will be critical. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think these tariff policies are the right approach? How do you think this will impact the global economy? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of the stories that shape our world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.